Hi, I'm Brian Watrous of VMware Education. In this demonstration, I'll illustrate how to run a workflow in vCenter Orchestrator. Notice I have here on the screen the vSphere client. I want you to see a little bit about our vSphere infrastructure before we actually run this workflow. Notice in this infrastructure that we have three virtual machines. One's called first virtual machine, the others are called second and third virtual machine. The thing I'd like you to notice is that the memory size of each of them. First virtual machine is 512 megabytes. The second virtual machine is 8 gigabytes. And the third virtual machine is 4 gigabytes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to launch the Orchestrator client. When you install Orchestrator, there are actually two icons that will appear. This is the one that we want to run. Later we'll talk about the vCenter Orchestrator configuration utility, but that's not the one we want to run right now. The one we want to run right now is the vCenter Orchestrator client. When you run the Orchestrator client, the first thing you need to do is to log in. We'll first of all specify the host name or IP address of our Orchestrator server. My server is called Desktop01. We'll then specify the user credentials that we want to use to log in. I'm going to log in as administrator and I'll type my password. Then click on the login button. In Orchestrator, there are three different modes. There's run mode, design mode, and administer mode. Now, throughout the bulk of this video series, we're going to actually be in the design mode, so I'll go ahead and go there for right now. We're not actually going to create a workflow just yet because I've already created one. If I expand my workflows, I have a folder for myself and a folder of demonstration workflows. The workflow I'm going to run right now is the one called Report Big VMs. And as you'll recall, a workflow has, amongst other things, a flow chart. Again, this is actually called the schema. And in this workflow schema, what we're going to do is get a list of all the virtual machines, but we're not going to print all the virtual machines. We're going to go through a loop, and each time we go through the loop, we're going to print out the name of a virtual machine if it's larger than a size we specify. To run the workflow, I can either select the workflow and click on the play button, or I can right-click the workflow and choose to start the workflow. I'll choose to start it from the menu. When we run the workflow, workflows can ask for, they don't have to, but they can ask for input parameters. I've designed this workflow to ask for a single input parameter. Namely, it wants to know what size of virtual machine are we looking for. In other words, if a virtual machine is greater than 1024 megabytes, a gigabyte, then this workflow is going to print out the name of those virtual machines. Now you'll recall we had three virtual machines. One was half a gig, and the other two were 4 gigs and 8 gigs. As a result, I expect when we run this workflow that we should only see 2 of the 3 VMs listed. I'll launch the workflow by clicking the Submit button. And when the workflow runs, you can see graphically in the schema up above. Actually, this workflow is so fast you may not have noticed that, but the schema indicates as it's running which schema element it's on. And then after the workflow is done running, if we go to the Logs tab, we can see that this workflow has reported that the virtual machines called second and third virtual machine are larger than the size we specified. So you've seen in this quick demonstration how to log into the vCenter Orchestrator client, how to run workflows, and how to see the results of those workflows. One other thing that I would like you to notice, though, is that the distinction between this here is a workflow. On the other hand, this is a workflow execution token. Now, I only have this one workflow called Report Big VMs, but each time I run that workflow, I end up with a new workflow execution token. Let me illustrate that by running the workflow again real quickly here. And if you're keeping track, you'll notice that we've run this workflow twice now, so we have 2 workflow tokens. And at any point in time, I can go back and take a look at either execution, see what their logging reported, see what their variables were, and on the General tab I can see exactly what the final state of the workflow was. So that concludes this particular demo. We are going to continue on in this series. We have a number of other exciting topics, so please continue on with these videos. For in-depth, hands-on Orchestrator training, enroll in the VMware vCenter Orchestrator Develop Workflows class and connect with other Orchestrator developers online at communities.vmware.com. Thank you.